Welcome to In the Envelope, an awards podcast. I am your host, Jack Smart, awards editor at Backstage. I'm here to give you a front row seat to the Emmys, Oscars, SAG, and Tony's races. Who is in the running? What makes an award-worthy performance? And what are the secrets to giving one? These intimate, inspirational conversations with some of today's most talented stars provide you, dear listener, the kind of craft and career advice that could win you a statue of your own, and maybe, just maybe, a tantalizing glimpse in the envelope.
The thing that you can do is be you. Like, no one else is going to be you like you. So, you know, it's like, well, just do that. Like, what are the aspects of your personality and your being that you want to sort of mine and show these people?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Who are you?
I'm Lisa Grancham. I'm an editor here.
Yay. Quite new.
Yes. Yeah. Just started about 3 months ago.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And welcome to Team Podcast, because you're a co-banterer and we're recording, so.
I mean, it's awesome. I love the podcast. I'm excited to be on it.
Thank you. Good. So what do you do at Backstage? What are you working on?
So I edit our expert network,
yes,
which is, our contributors that offer advice to everyone pursuing acting, and also our casting roundup so that you can find out the latest auditions happening around the country.
Way to plug it. Way to plug the casting roundups.
Yes.
Maybe in this episode for the edit article, we'll include a link to the latest casting roundup so that people can know what's on the site. Yeah. I'm assuming that a lot of our listeners know that Backstage has amazing acting opportunities, but they're updated all the time, and we're really getting our act together to kind of round them up and kind of present the most exciting opportunities and all of that.
Yeah.
I've asked you here today also because you know a little bit about today's guest. William Jackson Harper of The Good Place.
The Good Place.
Do you love The Good Place?
I love The Good Place.
Tell me all about it.
It's just an amazing show. It is hilarious, keeps you guessing. There's constant twists, but it's not forced. So it's just always amazing without jumping the shark. So you never know what's going to happen next. And it's super creative.
Yeah. Totally. It's the twists thing was not on our radar in season 1 when that show came out. They rolled out this big twist in the finale of season 1 that I think kind of remains one of the greatest moments in television history.
Yes.
Because none of us knew that it was a show that would have twists. And it's called The Good Place, but on that finale, it was revealed that they were actually in, quote, the bad place.
Yes.
For those who don't know, the show is about hell, essentially, or heaven, or both.
Both. Now,
The afterlife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And today's episode features William Jackson Harper, who plays Chidi. What is there to say about Chidi?
Chidi. Especially after last season.
Yeah.
Can they just be happy?
I know. And isn't that the central question of the show?
What the fork? Come on.
Look at you. Have you watched it more recently than I have? Because I'm forgotten all about what happens in season 3.
Not since it ended, but I love it.
What the fork? Can anybody be happy? Or how does anybody achieve that?
Yeah, especially in their situation. I don't know.
Totally. Are humans redeemable? I feel is a central question of that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all messes. And I think Chidi's mess that William Jackson Harper plays really well is that he's very indecisive. It's almost presented like it's a vice. It's a problem.
Yeah.
That is the reason he was put into the bad place, right? In the first place, that he
couldn't make a decision.
He can't make decisions.
Yeah, that ended up getting him killed.
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
As he just stood there. Yeah.
Totally. And I think that makes for a good interview because Chidi's in his own head, and William Jackson Harper is as in his head maybe as any working actor, which is what we like to hear about at Backstage.
Yeah.
And in this interview, you'll hear we talked a lot about the low points and the dry spells and the moment that he was maybe rethinking his approach to acting in the career, and that was the moment that he auditioned for the pilot for The Good Place.
Oh, wow.
As it goes.
Oh, my God.
So this is a terrific interview. I'm going to let you get back to work because I literally just grabbed you from your desk. Lisa.
It's all right.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
I can't wait to listen.
This episode is brought to you by Veep on HBO. The final season of Veep was hailed by critics as sharp and always excellent, as brutally funny as ever, and TV's greatest comedy. For your Emmy consideration in Outstanding Comedy Series and all other categories, visit hbo.com/FYC for more on Veep. Actor William Jackson Harper went from his native Dallas to Santa Fe to eventually the stages of New York City before catching his big break in television for 3 hilarious, inventive seasons of NBC's beloved The Good Place. Will has played the neurotic and indecisive Chidi Anagonye, a performance that has earned him a Critics' Choice Television Award nomination. Here's our chat with the wonderful William Jackson Harper. How's the coffee treating you?
The coffee is bringing me back.
Bringing it back.
Bringing me back to life.
You were saying so we're backstage. We love to hear about the early actor days. We love to hear about the struggling artist life. We love a message of hope. What was your experience with Backstage? First of all, when did you use it, and what did you use it for?
When I first moved to the city, I would just scour the pages for auditions, usually online, actually, just like, just like scouring the pages for people that were looking for, my type. And and then like I don't know, like also looking for those showcase code productions, stuff like that, because that was a little bit easier to get.
Sure.
Like the big regional guys were, they already had their, their casting directors, and those were a lot harder to come by. And so like it's like, okay, if you want to get on stage and get your stuff seen, you can actually probably
make yourself known.
Yeah, get a showcase show and do something.
So it was mostly theater that you were.
Oh yeah, all theater. When I first moved, all theater. I had no interest in doing TV or film for a while. Yeah.
So at what point did that like come onto your radar?
Well, I guess well, let me take that last part back. It's not like I had no interest in doing TV or film.
Sure.
I just didn't think that I was going to be doing any of it anytime soon. I was like, I probably got to wait till I'm, I age into what I feel like my type is. And so I was like, I got a little time before I'm going to be useful. And so, and I also just thought theater was more fun, more dynamic to do, and it was you're in charge of that experience.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was always about doing theater, and I just felt like if I moved out to LA, I would just get eaten alive. So,
Oh, so it was partly the eaten alive factor.
Yeah.
But what is this thing about type? So you thought you knew what your type was at that age, or you knew what type you were going to grow into? I love that.
I didn't. I guess I thought my type was just like a straight up weirdo character actor, and I was like, well, I'm still a little young and weird yet, so I'm I don't think I really fit anything that I'd seen. And then as I got older, I think my type sort of changed a little bit, and so it went from just being quirky to being able to do some other things too. And so so yeah, I thought I just thought that I was going to be like the guy that plays the old man for like I thought like I'll have a career when I'm an old guy. That's what I thought.
And it was almost like you were training to do that.
Kinda. I mean, because it was like those weird old characters. Like those were the characters I had the most fun playing in college. And, and so I was just like, yeah, this is my lane. And there's plenty of other like young, good-looking dudes that are like those are the leading men
doing that leading type.
Like that's not me.
I see. Yeah.
So
were there like performances or a performer that you were like, oh, that is the type that I want to be, or like that's the kind of performance I want to gravitate towards?
Yeah, I think actually it was seeing Philip Seymour Hoffman coming up. That was he was a huge influence on me, just because he was a very interesting person who was getting to do more than just be just sort of a quirky side character. He was always getting to do really interesting roles with a lot of depth, and a lot of it was just what he brought to every role that he played.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
But seeing him and seeing a guy who's a little left of center in a lot of ways was really great, and to see him just be so good.
Yeah. That distinction between do you distinguish between leading man type and character actor type?
I mean, kind of. I mean, not so much anymore. I guess at the time I was like I had a much more rigid idea of type and the kind of things that you're right for, and like there's these types that are right for these kinds of roles, and now it's a little bit it's a little bit more fluid, I guess. It's like, well, what does the piece want, and that doesn't it's not dictated strictly by someone's outward appearance or voice or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that has something to do with the not decrease in movies. I mean, movies are obviously still huge, but like the rise of TV means more roles, and definitely means more like thinking outside the box in terms of casting, and just like there's a lot of weird content out there. Maybe just because there's a lot of content out there.
Yeah. There's a ton of content.
What is the timeline? So when did you move to New York?
I moved to New York in 2004, fall of 2004.
And did you do that to become an actor?
I did.
So when were you bit by the bug?
In middle school, actually, my mom made me take theater classes because I was kind of shy, and she was...
Oh, to make you less shy?
To make me less shy.
Really?
Yeah. And so, I reluctantly, did these theater classes and realized that it wasn't all like, kneeling on one knee in pumpkin pants confessing love, and I was like, oh well, I can be other things. You can improvise, you can explore all these different aspects of yourself a little bit, and just pretend without it being anything mushy or cheesy or corny, and so then I was hooked.
You thought of it as a mushy, corny, on one knee.
Yeah.
Almost Shakespearean, but in
I was
quotes.
like, that's terrible. I was like, I don't want to do that. Whereas like people meet up and, there's like romance and stuff. I always hated that stuff. It was like I'm wildly unsentimental on that front. And so like I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. And then when I got to do other things outside of what I thought it would be, it was like, oh, this is great.
And met like-minded people and
yeah.
And was that then throughout college, high school and college, that you? But at what point was it like this is the career? Like there's no other path.
Somewhere between my senior year of high school and within the first 2 years of college. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. It's like that old trope that I think every department chair throws out to people of like, if you can see yourself doing anything else with your life, do that. Yeah. And I thought about that. I really thought about it. Like, do I really want to do this? I just didn't really like doing anything else.
Yep.
What limited experience I had at that time, it was like I loved doing this. I loved doing theater. I loved the community around it. I loved everything about it.
Yeah.
And so I just kept sticking with it. I'm like, maybe there will be like, a lightning bolt that strikes me all of a sudden and I have a complete change of heart. But I was open to that, but it just never happened. There's only one thing. Yeah.
I do think it must be very, very important to hear that. Like, especially at a formative age, that if you can or want to do any other thing, which maybe is true for any profession, but like it seems especially true for acting in particular.
Well, it's feast or famine. It's like it's like you're wildly underpaid for a lot of great work for a very, very long time.
Sure.
And hopefully you are fortunate enough to get that job that will allow you to make your bills. And that's not a guarantee. And so it's like when there's no stability, and the industry can be very fickle, and you know, it's like dealing with all those things that you just cannot control.
Yeah.
It can really bum you out. And,
yep.
you know,
I mean,
it's
which we can get into like how to deal with all of that, because like there's so much rejection. It can be such a bummer. I think it's just important for early career people who are choosing this path to know that it is just a gamble. It's the feast or famine gamble.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble. But I mean, you know, it's like it's also, I mean, like just the financial and logistical piece aside. You know, if you want to be doing this, there's a lot that you're willing to put up with to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, and there's no replacement for really like feeling like you got inside of a character, like you're really just in the moment with your scene partner, and you know you're just there, and you're getting to really sort of like get into your entire being and put something out and see what it does. You know, it's like that's I feel like there's certain people that really need that and really enjoy it and get a big old rush out of it, and then you know, it doesn't really matter. And I think as long as that rush is there, as long as you're still enjoying it, you know, stay with it. But it's like, you know, but it's like, is that rush enough? You know, is that rush enough for
and
a
if
lot
it's
of
not,
people?
yeah, totally. Then that's why you need to hear that.
It's a beating,
yeah. If you get a taste and you become so hungry for just that and more of that, then that is how you know. Like if you can do anything else or want to do anything else, go do that thing. It's a warning, but it's also like kind of a message of hope, right? Yeah. That like, if you know for certain, then you're good. Yeah. Then you're going to keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't sustain you, then that is when you choose another path or explore another path or try to take ownership.
Totally. It's not fun to be rejected like that all the time. It's terrible. It's like, you know.
Yeah. So like, how do you not take it personally?
I don't know.
What do you do? Like, pre-audition, post-audition?
Pre-audition, I just prep as much as I can. I had sort of a shift recently, actually. I was doing this play with Bryan Cranston, and he said something that I thought was really brilliant. We were talking to these these students up at ART, and he said something which I was like, oh, I need to remember that. He was like, don't go into an audition looking to get a job. Go in looking to give the performance. Mm-hmm. And, you know, no matter what, you'll come out of there feeling okay about what went down. Yeah. And that sort of changed things for me quite a bit, because I, you know, it quit being about what do they want, what can I give them, you know, how do I get them to give me this thing, and to like, this is my chance to act today, like really thinking about it, like this is my chance to act today. This is my idea of what the character is, and I want to play with it, and if they want it, great. If they don't, at least I got to express myself, you know, in a way that feels genuine, and so that started to shift things. And then I think as far as after auditions, I throw those sides away and I put it out of my mind. It took a while to get there.
The physical pieces of paper,
just throw them away.
Yeah, that's
just
great
get rid
advice.
of it, and you know, just pretend like that's the only time you're going to see that character. Leave it alone, because most of the time that is the only time you're going to see that character.
Totally.
Yeah.
So. And close the door, and it does help to have like a physical like abandonment. Just like, we're moving on.
Just let it go. You know.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's harder when you really feel like you gave the performance you wanted to give. They received something that seemed valuable to them on the other side of the table. It's tougher to do that then. Yeah. But also, I mean, you know, over the last couple of years, it started to become freeing for me to see that someone's receiving what I'm giving, and it's like, well, if nothing else, we were all on the same page for this 2 minutes or whatever. For a moment, yeah. And you know, if I'm the guy, great. If I'm not, okay. Yeah. But at least, you know, for this, there was a connection here for just a second.
And it doesn't mean that down the line, if you're not a fit for that part, you could easily be a fit for a later part.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. You know. You never know.
If you've shown that you've done your work and you've done a decent job of presenting your version of a character, I think that is the distinction between guessing what they want.
Yeah.
Trying to give them that.
Yeah. And there's just so much that's out of your control anyway. You know?
They want somebody taller. They want somebody like whatever.
Yeah. It's like the thing that you can do is be you. Like no one else is going to be you like you. So, you know, it's like, well, just do that. Like what are the aspects of your personality and your being that you want to sort of mine and show these people.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Okay. So when you're looking at a new part, like when you have the sides for a new character for an audition, like are you doing the thing of looking at the qualities in the character and seeing where they overlap with your own qualities and like use something from your own life to inspire in that overlap?
Somewhat. I think it's yes, and it's a less of a one-to-one analogy in a lot of ways. It's like you know, there's that, and then I guess what I'm saying is like there's that, and then there's also on top of that just imagining what if in these, you know, should it be an extreme circumstance in the scene, like what would I be? Who would I be if I was really here? So it's like, okay, so I can mine from like, you know, similar things, but then like, so that's the thing that I instantly recognize, but what's the thing that I've never encountered that is possible in this character? And like, what does that look like? You know, what does that feel like to be facing something that I don't understand? And, and that lends itself sometimes to something really something interesting. And then
interesting
other times,
and organic.
Yeah, and then other times completely wacky and wrong. But you know, it's
better to make a choice than not to make a choice.
Yeah. You know, and I think that there is like I feel like uncertainty is a really interesting place to live as an actor. It's like you know, when you're not sure of how you would react and you're just sort of, you know, you have all these other building blocks in place and then there's this thing that's just a complete void of like personal experience and you just kind of have to just let your imagination get you to a place where, you know, you all you can do is react, you know. That's that's an interesting place to be.
And you mean like in terms of an actor creating a character, or do you also mean in character responding to uncertainty?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking I was thinking in terms of an actor creating a character, but I think also in character responding to whatever circumstances. Yeah. You know, I think that's. I think it both works. It's a fun place to work. Yeah. You know, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, and I think those moments also tend to be the most truthful, but just because you're not, or at least I'm not in my own head in that moment being like, oh yeah, this is the moment when this is analogous to this one time when I did this. And it's like, no, I'm just here with this person or with these people, just, you know, sort of in this space. It's completely unfamiliar. And
it's less premeditated.
All that's coming out is just instant reaction. And that's, you know, sometimes that's a lot of fun. Yeah,
I mean, I'm certainly thinking of like Chidi. All of the characters in Good Place are so often reacting to like the most off-the-wall, crazy circumstances you can think of that make no sense often. And it's like, how do you convey? I love the idea that uncertainty is something to embrace as an actor, because of course it's a career of uncertainty. Yeah. But like the most fun moments with Chidi are the ones where he's just reacting to insanity around him because he is so uncertain about what's going on. Yeah, yeah. That is that show.
Well, I mean, it's the show is bananas, and you know, and I think it's you know, Chidi's he's a very rigid character, you know, right? And he has a very strict sort of moral code, which, you know, locks him up from doing anything, right? You know, and so, you know, the less things make sense, the more it throws him into sort of crisis and paralysis, and you know, it's and that yields some weird reactions, obviously,
right?
You know?
And terror, just a lot of terror, fear, terror, yeah. And I definitely want to like get back to like, I just love Chidi so much, and I want to pick your brain about who he is. But the timeline of you moved to New York right after college to be a theater actor.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any other options, any other ambitions?
Not.
If you could do anything else, what would you do?
Oh God. Well, it'd be another uncertain path. I probably would try to be a musician.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't.
You're the uncertain path.
I'm the uncertain path guy.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a backup plan. I always thought, well, I'm young enough to go back to school, and my mom did it when she was in her 30s. I was like, I've got time. I can pick another thing if I find something else that I like. But there was no real backup plan ever. It wasn't until I want to say when the show episode. So 3.5 years ago, when I sort of had the moment of, okay, I need to figure out something else to do, but until then, it was like I'm going to be an actor. And that's all I'm here to do.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What happened 3.5 years ago?
I was just tired, man.
Really?
I was just tired.
So yeah, we love hearing about those moments.
Yeah, I was.
The low points.
Yeah, I had. God. Okay, so maybe a year or two before this moment, I had gotten a pilot or a pilot presentation or something like that, and we shot it. It went over really well. I made a lot of friends at the not friends, but sort of had made a favorable impression with people at the network and with all these people that could really help advance my career in the industry. And I was like, oh wow, I did okay. I didn't torpedo this whole thing. And we were on hold for a really long time, and then I got a call after I don't know, it was it's 8 months I think of waiting to see what the deal was going to be with this with the show, and I got the call that they were just scrapping the whole thing, starting from scratch, and everyone who was hired is now fired.
Oh, they're starting the recasting this with the same idea.
Recasting, different idea, just reworking the whole thing, except for one character, and so that was. I was like, it was one of those that hurt, and took me a minute to get over, and and then a couple other little things, those big disappointments where you're just you're this close, and so I finally hit that moment where I was like, I don't know that I'm enjoying being an actor anymore. I think I'm doing it because it's what I've told myself that I am, but I'm not sure that that I'm enjoying it. I'm not sure that I love it, and so I took some time, and I would have friends ask me if I wanted to do a reading or something, and I was like, I don't think I want to. I'm too bitter. I just feel and went to LA. I think it was going to be my last pilot season, so I was feeling really relaxed because I was like, this is the last time I'm going to do this, I had actually read for The Good Place out here for as a pre-read, and I didn't think it went well.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, that would have been nice, but okay. Well, I'm going out to pilot season anyway, and got to LA. They wanted to bring me in for producers. I had a great time before I got in my car to go back home after that session. They said they wanted to test me, and then I went in and tested with Kristen, which, meeting Kristen Bell that way is incredibly intimidating.
Was it intimidating? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude, I was a wreck.
She's
just insta sweat, just everywhere. Just a ring around the hairline. And
because you're a fan, she's just a huge celebrity.
And, I had a really terrible haircut at the time. Oh. It was everything was wrong.
Oh, so you're just self-conscious about that, which is distracting.
And I, but we had a great time.
Okay.
And then I actually happened to be watching the pilot episode of Cheers when I got the call that I got.
Oh my God.
The show.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why were you watching the pilot?
I was climbing the walls after that test to see if...
What do I do?
to see if, like, did I get this job? And a friend of mine took me to the Rain Room in LA, and it was like this, this art exhibit where you walk into this room where it's raining all around you, but not where you're walking.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were just talking, and I was, obviously spinning out and obsessing, and she was like, you should watch the pilot episode of Cheers. It really holds up. It's like as far as sitcoms go. I mean, like a lot of them don't hold up, but this one does.
Really?
And so I was like, really? Okay. So I did, and I went home and was like, okay, this is something to do to like take my mind off of things. And I did watch it. It did hold up, and like pretty much as soon as the credits rolled on that pilot episode, I got the call
that you were going to be working with one of the stars of that show.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And so I've heard this before. Like, I think Mandy Moore said something similar of like, it was at the lowest point that you get the biggest break. Mm-hmm. Do you think it does have something to do with like you went into that pilot season a little, like you said, relaxed, but like you went in a little prepped for disappointment, like a little bit like just low expectations, I guess.
Yeah. I think that, not to say abandon all hope ye who enter this profession, but I mean, I think
that might not help.
I don't think that's right. But I do think that there is, when you look at every job as something that could potentially change your life, you're not, at least I'm not free. I'm not free. And I was thinking, this is going to be my last pilot season. I'm going to enjoy it. Sure, I'm thinking that I would love for something to happen, but as per the usual, like it probably won't. Yeah. And so, and so I think I just hit a moment of peace with it,
Yeah, like a Zen thing.
Yeah. Because it didn't even feel, I mean, yes, it was low, and I was emotionally sort of like trying to make my peace with not being an actor anymore. But I mean, I was also, it was the first time that I had thought about not being an actor, and it didn't feel painful. It felt a little bit more like a release
necessary.
In a way. Mm-hmm. And still, that's a big shift, and it causes some uncertainty and pain, but still it's not the same thing as being like, I can't let it go, Yeah. And so I think going into that pilot season was just sort of like, this is sort of my goodbye, and so I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy being in these rooms and talking to these people, and here we go,
that process of letting go.
Yeah, let's just connect as people, because I mean, these casting directors are in there all day too. I mean, they're they're dealing with a lot.
That's actually a great tip. Like,
so it's like just just be a person and connect, and try not to eat too much of their day. See how they're doing, because I mean, like, it's they're not sleeping. So it's it's just kind of an important thing to.
They're seeing the same thing every day, like.
Yeah.
Give them something to acknowledge their humanity.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. That whole pilot season process is so wild.
Yeah.
How many had you done?
Oh God, I think I'd only done like maybe 3 or 4, really, because I had done like I was always doing plays. Yeah. And I always just sort of felt I wasn't really like the guy that would be on TV. I just felt like I just didn't.
Until you were an old man, maybe
maybe I was an old man. When I was an old man, but I didn't think that I was going to be the guy that was on TV. I just, I was like, that's just not my lane. And then, you get older, and it's like I as much as I love my roommates, Ben and Brooks, I can't live here for the rest of my life.
Sure.
And so I need to try to find a way to give myself some sort of cushion, so I can, kind of feel like I starting my life in earnest without sort of like leaning so much on other people.
Yeah, that taking stock thing of like, where am I at? Where do I want to be? How much does it suck? Like, it's a question of asking yourself, like, how much pain are you in almost?
Yeah. And it's like, like a lot of aspects of, tons of aspects of my life as an actor, as intense and as sort of painful and sucky as it was, there's also like that sort of camaraderie and misery, everyone's just sort of in the same place. We're all doing work, and sometimes we're proud of it, and we're all struggling to figure out how to get to next month. And sometimes just like going and having a beer with a friend, just being like, oh yeah, like, okay, unemployment, I think I'll get that last check. And I think I'll, like, that waiting week, I think I'll be okay for the end of the month, like after this show ends. And, sort of having that sort of camaraderie with people that were all in the same boat, who were all professionals, was great to just sort of gripe about that.
Yeah, that thing of building community is super important.
Yeah.
If only to help you just get through.
Yeah, totally. But it was just, I was like, I'm mid-30s. I feel like I'm supposed to be a little bit more like self-sufficient at this point. But I mean, like
interesting.
But then what is that in New York? I mean, like it's impossible.
That's the thing. Like, what does that even mean? What does being an adult mean? I don't know.
So I had this, I had this, like, this idea in my head that it meant something else other than just like, what I was. And so it's a process of defining. I think we are kind of beholden to kind of chained to the number of our age, and we have this weird preconceived notion of you should be X when you hit X number. Yeah. But it really is like you can just define it however you want to.
Your path, however you want to, however you have to.
Well, it's one of those things. I thought that I was like very open, in that regard. I thought I was like, outside the box. And then here I am, like, like I was like 35 at the time. And all of a sudden just being like, well, wait a minute. Like, my friends are buying houses and they have kids and they have steady jobs. And what am I doing? It's like, I don't know what next month is going to do, and it was like, have I messed up? And that was...
There's a shame in that too.
Yeah, and it was like, why am I, So I was just like looking at that, and that was sort of, I don't know, it was messing with me, it's just messing with me.
It's
even
part
though
of that.
It's kind of made up.
It's in our heads, everyone is dealing with it, but it's not always easy to. That comparison thing is everywhere. It's all the time. It's just a human thing to do, to compare. Why does that person have? It often has a lot to do with like possession and like having some path or having something, or what am I going to look back on and regret? And it's like that. Don't anticipate regret.
No,
it just creates more regret.
Look,
stay in the moment and like.
Yeah, you don't need to do that now. Like, save that for when you're trying to go to sleep, and you can think about that deeply embarrassing thing that
when it's bubbling up right before you go to sleep.
Right before you go to bed, and it's just like, hey, that's cool. But remember this? Remember that one time you said that one thing that was really so stupid?
Yes.
And so
we're all neurotic.
It'll happen. It'll happen on its own. You don't need to really focus on that.
That's so true. Like, don't like dig those things up, because they'll bubble up. Without our help. If they like need to. This episode is brought to you by Deadwood on HBO. The film was hailed by critics as poignant and masterful, beautifully told, and a brilliant final chapter. For your Emmy consideration in Outstanding Television Movie and all other categories, visit hbo.com/FYC for more on Deadwood. What do you learn? I want to ask about the theater in general, and like, what have you learned from? You watched Philip Seymour Hoffman. You've worked with Bryan Cranston, who's also a friend of the podcast, by the way. What do you learn from these people, and what do you learn from somebody like Kristen Bell or your family on The Good Place?
I mean,
do you take away like one thing from each role and use that in your next?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely more than one. And I think with. Like, Kristen is one of these actors that is so incredibly alive without being it doesn't feel like a facade of sort of this vivaciousness. It's just sort of she just is so alive and
cool,
and in a way that I don't see in a lot of actors. That is, it doesn't come off as fake, it doesn't come off as phony, it doesn't come off as overwhelming. It's just this brightness and this life that sometimes I watch her and it's like, see, now that's how you do it, like,
cool.
That's the sweet spot where there is sort of something that is up and alert, but still riding that line of subtlety somehow. And she does that better than almost anyone I've worked with. I'm like trying to think, like, is there? I've never seen anyone quite do what she does, and I think it's. I don't know. I think it's. I don't feel like people clock it in the way that they should. You know.
Yeah,
it's like
you've seen the behind the scenes process.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to do what she does, and she does it beautifully.
And that's the thing too. She does make it look effortless. Like, she's one of those artists.
That's the thing. It's like, and that's also like a sign of, I think, of how great an actor she is. Is that she does it, and you don't see the work.
Yeah.
And that's hard,
especially for comedy. I feel like comedy is really hard.
And I think it's. I mean,
harder
she's also.
Than people think.
Yeah. Well, she's crazy smart. She's crazy smart. She understands. She understands the camera, and she really understands timing. And the
two of you have wonderful timing together, I think.
Yeah, we have fun.
I'm sure. We have fun. Well, and you said that you never saw yourself as like a TV or film guy, and it seems like we got to talk about what you're doing next, because you have a lot of upcoming like movies. But like, do you still consider yourself the theater guy, or do you want to be?
Oh yeah. I'm totally a theater guy. I don't think that'll ever change. I think that that's great. It's the most sort of active artistic contribution that I think actors get. Because we get to be in the room asking questions, mining it, doing it over and over and over again, trying to find the way to render a scene that is the most inevitable and also the most surprising at the same time, and trying to figure out where that is and like what that means. And sometimes you get there, sometimes you don't, but you're thinking about this, and you have like, a lot of real estate. You have minutes and hours and, to sort of like suss all this stuff out. And then when it comes to, TV and film, for me thus far, it's not a lengthy rehearsal process.
No.
So it's a lot of coming in, having thought about the character kind of sometimes in a vacuum.
Yeah, and then, without feedback.
Without a lot of feedback, and then you go right before you shoot it, and then you're really dialoguing heavy about like what the scene is, and it's a really sort of truncated process, and it's and so I always leave a scene on camera feeling like I wanted to do something else. I wanted to do something else. Whereas like when I've done a play, it's like I could have done something else, but I think where we landed is kind of what it needed to be.
Because you're just more likely to have exhausted the possibilities of a scene.
Yeah, it's just more. Stage. It's just more likely to have done that. Sometimes you don't, but you're more likely to have.
Because sometimes, like on a sitcom, especially, I've heard like there really are 1 or 2 takes sometimes.
Yeah,
that's insane. What's like the average amount of takes on The Good Place?
We actually do quite a few.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, we get alternate lines here and there.
Okay.
I would say definitely like the first 2 takes are usually the ones where we're still working the bugs out and stuff like that.
Okay.
But, also the writing on TV is a little bit more straightforward in a lot of ways, and so it's it's like if you just kind of play it as it lays, especially with our brilliant room of writers, you're probably going to come out on top. You can find something else in there, but it's like it's pretty clear how this needs to go and how this needs to unfold.
Sure.
And so it's but it's just like sort of finding what the scene wants and trying to like lock into that.
Like it's a puzzle to unpuzzle a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I love the idea of the inevitable conclusion of the scene, like where the scene inevitably needs to go.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to get to.
Yeah. We have to be here. What's the most surprising, organic, and truthful way to get there?
Okay. Surprising and organic.
Yeah. And if you're not really, I think for me, it's like if I'm not judging it too much, some weird things will happen that are rooted in.
And by judge it, you mean like, don't get too in your head. Don't
try
get
to
too,
muscle. Like a
choice,
a sort of spontaneous thing, just like, I'm going to do this thing, that I'm going to have this idea that just do a weird thing here. And sometimes it's like, if it's, for me, like those things will happen regardless. In my process, I'll just be like, I'm just going to try something else. But if I think about it too much, it can get a little cute. It can get a little canned, and it doesn't.
Not truthful.
I can't sell that as well.
Right.
I know other actors probably can have like a crazy idea and somehow like make it track, and I'm just not as good at it.
I see. Yeah.
So I have to stay a little bit more open, and sort of just let whatever happens.
I see
happens.
that. I can see that in the because I never feel like there's I loved seeing this little insight into your process, because I feel like there are some really crazy, I guess you call them choices, but like really crazy stuff that happens on that show and to the character, and stuff that you as Chidi do, but it does never feel like a put on. Organicness is so hard to define, but like it never feels untruthful. There's got to be like a better word for that, but like
I think that's right. And I mean, I try to be. I hope it comes out that way. I mean, like, but I think that's I find it more interesting. And more interesting to play rather than trying to like, well, this is the way these lines are usually rendered that gets the laugh. It's like, well, what's
the other way?
What's the other way? And it may tank, and you might wind up just doing the thing that will traditionally get the laugh or whatever. But it's like, let's mess around with just like falling on our face for a little while as well time.
Yeah, it's the trusting yourself to take the risks.
Yeah,
and the knowledge that they might not work.
They may not work. Yeah. Most of them won't, but it's worth,
But it's worth it rather than trying. Always going the safe route and always going for the laugh if you know the laugh is there.
Yeah. It's like, where else can we get the drop on the audience a little bit more,
And see, that plays into what you said earlier about type and how like you consider yourself the quirky character actor type. You're not content with going like the obvious route on a tiny line or just in general with a character. Like you want to find the most interesting way to do it.
I want to try to, yeah.
I
want to try to, yeah.
Cool.
Then I just trust the director to be like, hey man, just keep
it
simple, bro. It's like just don't just leave it the way it is. It's like, okay, all right.
It's good to work with people who can tell you no.
Yeah, yeah, and I rely heavily on directors for that because I'm like, look, I'm just in the playpen and I can't see it.
You can't always see it. Yeah.
If something's coming off in a way that's not beneficial to the scene or to what we're trying to make, then let's can it. Just tell me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like just the beginning.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I'd like to keep working,
I mean, it's that too, that's like we said earlier about it's the arbitrariness of what age you are and where you are in your career. Like it is just depending on your own perspective, right?
Yeah.
If you think you're doing okay, then you're doing okay.
I feel great with how things are going.
Good.
I feel really good,
Good.
It's, I definitely, it's fun to be in that place when you can just look at people who are more successful than you and you just admire them rather than feel any jealousy,
Oh.
That's kind of a fun place where it's like,
interesting.
Like, wow, like they're great. I love that they are getting all of the accolades that they're getting because they're special, and I appreciate their work a lot rather than being in that place of like, man, I'll never get a shot like that, and so and I think I've been really fortunate in this last, these last few years to get work that is sort of just, giving me some stability and some
some satisfaction.
Some satisfactions where I can just really be happy for other people's success.
Yeah, because the thing of like that person's path, there's no way to replicate another person's path or steal it or like. So if you are content with your own path, then you're able to reach that point of not having to be jealous of somebody else's success. Like that's.
Yeah. I think that it's like for the longest time, especially when I was struggling, I was definitely just I would see people and like, well, why did they get that shot and not me?
Totally.
And
it's only human.
Yeah, and now it's sort of nice to sort of be like, I've been very fortunate and I've gotten a really great shot, and and there's still places I want to go and things I want to do, but but I can look at those people that are there and just admire and be happy for them, as opposed to feeling like I don't have enough. It's like
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thank you for joining us at this particular point in your career, which I think is a very exciting one.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm excited.
In the Envelope, an awards podcast, is recorded at Lotus Productions, Hyperbolic Audio, and Big Yellow Duck in New York City, and Soundbox LA, Mark Grouse Studios, and Buzzies in Los Angeles. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, tweet us at In the Envelope, leave a review. We want to hear from you. Visit Backstage.com for more content and resources for working artists, and don't forget, you can subscribe to Backstage with a free trial by using the code ENVELOPE at checkout. Thanks, as always, to podcast producer Wiz, Jamie Muffett. You can follow him on Twitter at JamieMusicNYC. You can follow me, Jack Smart, on Twitter at JackSmartWrites. Thank you to the team at Backstage, the most trusted name in casting: Peter Rappaport, Mark Stinson, Samantha Sherlock, Francis Ramos, Lauren Rout, Caitlin Watkins, and especially should-be Oscar nominee Kasey Howe. Thanks for listening.
I don't know what I'm
Real
doing.
quick, guys.
Hi.
I think we missed maybe like the first 5 seconds of
okay.
just like welcome, like how's your coffee sort of thing. So whatever you want to do, if we just want to grab the
Okay.
time.
All right.
Do you want to try to recreate?
Do
Okay.
some acting.
Yeah.
We can do some acting.
God.
Oh, God.
Well, we know where it's going. What's the most spontaneous way to get there?
Yeah, how did we, it was like a hello and welcome. See, now it feels so. What's that thing you were saying about organic and truthful?
Something, I don't know. Abandon all truth, ye who enter retakes.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Now I feel so on the spot. Well, hi.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be
How's
here.
your coffee? Do you have your coffee? You're all
great.
set up?
It's fantastic coffee.
We
This
good
is
to
really
go?
good coffee here.
Yeah, it actually is.
Yeah.
It actually is like the best coffee in New York,
Yeah.
I think.
I think it has a little saucer.
We were joking about it. Oh, yeah, it's very classy.
It's super classy.
Yeah, I feel great about it.